Hi everyone, my name is Mandy Berger, and tonight I'm going to talk to you about a look into teacher evaluation, overview, advocacy, and the ESSA Act. Let's start with teacher evaluation. First, what is it? To put it simply, it is the process that a school uses to evaluate and rate educators on how effective they are in the classroom. Secondly, why has teacher evaluation become such an issue over the last several years? Well, in our article that we were assigned, Teacher Evaluation, an Issue Overview, it tells us that the old systems just were not effective, that honestly all educators were being scored the same, showing satisfactory on all their evaluations, that tenured teachers were never getting fired, which then this opened up a chance for us to revamp the system. But then when we opened it up to look at it, it allowed states to step in and start requiring schools to do these annual evaluations. They were offering all sorts of incentives. In fact, 41 states, to get these incentives, required that student test data actually be used in evaluating the educators. Which then leads us to my next topic. Thirdly, the unions and how they responded. The unions do see the importance of having evaluations because they do honestly provide us with valuable feedback that we can take and use to better our instruction. However, they also see that using the test scores is a very unfair way of evaluating educators. So much, in fact, that over the last couple years, the evaluation system has led to many court cases, with the issue of changing how the evaluation system is supposed to look. A lot of states have ended up in court. And the main reasons are because of fairness and the needs to consider all the different variations that they tend to forget. And our one article, it mentioned that 15 to 30% of teachers don't even teach subjects that require state testing. So in all fairness, how can we have a system that ranks teachers and their performance based on test scores when we have such a large percentage of teachers that don't even teach those kind of subjects? And then it doesn't even take into all the variations that students themselves face. Not all students are good test takers. We don't know what's going on in their life socially or at home and how much of their home life, home environment has come into the school environment. That all affects testing. And those are things we need to consider. And what about those teachers that have more challenging students or special ed students in their classroom? Those students are also required to take state tests, and that affects the scores, which then would reflect on their performance, and then these cases were taken to court, and some of the questions were asked were even how were these systems going to be put into place. And lastly, they even started bringing up tenure and how, look into that and to get rid of that and how unfair that was. In fact, in 2014, the state of Kansas took tenure away, and a group of teachers have been fighting to get it back into place. However, in the summer of 2018, the Kansas Supreme Court turned it down again. And basically, tenure is usually after your third year, so it goes into effect your fourth year of teaching, you can no longer be fired without giving a reason why. And then you can even ask for a hearing to review that reason why. Which leads us to the ESSA Act, Every Student Succeeds Act. This act put an end to the government influencing the evaluation systems. States are no longer required to base evaluations off of students' test scores alone. The key provisions of this act, first off, prohibits the Secretary of Education from determining any part of the evaluation. States will develop their own goals, long, short, and interim. They can use a broad range of factors to determine performance, not just test scores. They can redesign the system so it includes multiple measures of educators' performance along with student growth if they so choose. And when we talk about multiple measures of educators' performance, I am talking about developing different evaluation tools, being able to develop rubrics for the observation, having training available to the staff that is giving the evaluations, auditing. There also needs to be reliability for all of this stuff. You need development training to teach the difference and how to differentiate the performance. You need to have timely feedback on it. Not only that, you need a system to audit the evaluation system, which all of this new act, the ESSA Act, and the key provisions allows states to do just that. Which leads us to my next slide, which is advocacy, which is a huge, huge part of what we need to do for ourselves. The first thing is you need to know your state bargaining laws on evaluation. This will help you so you will know if your employer is not acting unlawfully. It's also just important for you to be able to advocate for yourself, and to do that you need this information. ESSA requires local education agencies to consult with you as an educator. This allows your voice to be heard. Our input as educators is important, and without our voice being heard, nothing is going to change. Another tool that you can use in advocacy is the NEA Toolkit. It offers guidelines and examples to consider when modifying any evaluation system. Next, in my district, I wanted to talk about what we used. We used the McGrill's evaluation system. So at the grade school level, my principal does walkthroughs almost daily. You know, some days he might be in there for just seconds, other days he's in there for minutes. He catches us at different times and we discuss what he saw. He tells us what he likes, what he would like to see us work on. He also, on top of that, uses the McGrill system. And this next slide just kind of takes you through the evaluation system and how it works. First, with this, there's the training and orientation. The next step is the teacher self-assessment. Then you have the pre-observation conference, along within the observation. After that, you have the post-observation conference, the summary and evaluation conference, and the professional development plans. Now, when it comes to our district, if there is an issue and something comes up, the question was, what kind of recourse does our teachers have? You know, our principal is very good at sitting down and talking with us and going through all these stages. You know, after the observation and he has the discussion, you know, with his feedback, we sit down and we can work on some plans together. And we also have the right that we can ask for another administrator, such as the high school principal or a board member, to come in and give us another evaluation through an observation. From there, I also know of some teachers that have taken it to the next level and they have gone to a board meeting. They have taken what they have gotten from their evaluation and they have talked about it at length at the board meeting, and a decision has been made. You know, ultimately though, those teachers then did decide to leave our district, but they did follow the right steps. They went through the first evaluation, they did discuss that, they planned, and then they requested a second evaluation. And one of them I know requested the second evaluation to be with the board member and the high school principal. They're present. And then they followed the last step, which was to go to the board and talk about it. You know, I feel like my district does a really good job on evaluations. I know there are some things that we can change, and I do think we are headed in the right direction. You know, if I was the principal at my school, I think one of the biggest things I would change was just consistency across all the grades, starting from preschool on up. I do think that, walkthroughs are important. And I know that as an administrator, your time is valuable and you can't necessarily do them all the day, all days, every day. But I do think it is important to make yourself available and let the students and the staff know that you're there and that you are watching and you think their instruction is important. And you can do that by just stepping into the classroom and observing them, whether it's for 30 seconds or 5 minutes one day, and then just keeping track and writing that down, and then discussing that with the teacher. I also feel like teacher self-assessments are a huge help, not only to the teacher, but just as a whole. The teacher can look back at their instruction and see how they're doing, if they want to change anything. I think anytime you have any type of assessment, if you're open to the feedback, it is a great way to evaluate yourself. I know me personally as a teacher, I like to do end of the year student teacher evaluations, and I ask my students, what was one thing you wished I would have done to help make the instruction easier for you? And I find those kind of assessments very, very valuable, and it helps me, just kind of change my instruction to best meet the needs, to see that all my students are successful. Like I said, I feel really strongly that anytime you can get any type of observation, whether it's 30 seconds or 5 minutes, it's very important. Thank you for giving me your time tonight. I hope you have a great night.